I challenge you to a duel.
Hello and welcome to the Movie Duel podcast. My name is Peter and I am your host. On each episode of the Movie Duel podcast, we select a subject that's based around movies, and then myself and one of my co-hosts pick a film that we think best fits that subject. However, this is one of our bonus quick draw episodes in which I bring on a special guest to discuss some of the movie duels of past, some of the subjects that we've already discussed on the podcast, and get them to pick what they would have chosen for those subjects. And this time around I'm joined by one of the co-hosts of the Moviedrone podcast, Steve, in which we'll be asking him to make his selections. But I would encourage you to check out some of our past quick draw episodes in which we've spoken to such special guests as Lexi Bowen, Matthew from the Creative Psychopaths podcast, and Jason from It's Not That Bad as well. Please check out some of those past quick draw episodes. They're a tremendous amount of fun and some really sort of varied choices for the subjects that we've discussed on the podcast already. And before we get into this one, just a quick reminder about how you can get in touch with us here at the Movie Duel podcast. You can contact us through all the social medias, so through Facebook, through Instagram. Just search for us on there, and you can find us on Threads and at X at Movie Duel Pod. You can also email us at movieduelpodcast@gmail.com. If you're interested in being a guest on a future quick draw episode, then please don't hesitate to get in touch with us and we will add you to the list. And that's about it from me. There might be a bit of strong language, mild spoilers in this episode as well, so just be careful of those. And I very much hope you enjoy this episode of Quick Draw with Steve from Moviedrone.
He's Caucasian?
Caucasian?
Yeah, you know, a white guy. With a mustache, about 6'3".
An awfully big mustache.
So, my guest on this episode of Quick Draw is a podcaster and one of the hosts of Moviedrone. Welcome to Steve. Steve, how are you?
Hello, Peter. I am very well, thank you very much. You forgot to say the better half of Moviedrone. That's how I like to be presented nowadays. So after the last few months. But no, I'm good. Thank you very much. Very, very pleased to be here.
Fantastic. So do you want to start off by telling the listeners a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Moviedrone?
Moviedrone. So we have been going for quite a while now. We first started, we were going to do 10 episodes. Everybody that we knew didn't even think that we'd make it past 10 episodes. And we are currently, I think next week is current episode 259. Fantastic. So we've outlived we've totally gone over and above what we were going to do. We set it up just as something in just to have a chat. We used to do dog walks and stuff together, and we thought, we'll give it a go. And now many thousands of pounds. And many stressful times editing. 259 episodes. So we just we like to think that we are not proper film critics. We don't really know an awful lot about what we're doing, but we like to think that it is like having a chat with your mate down the pub about a film that you watched.
Yeah, I mean it's a fantastic podcast. I mean, it's on my. It would, if you guys were still weekly, it would be on my weekly sort of roll of podcast.
Yeah,
but
we
literally when I got into it, you just dropped down to 2 weeks.
Yeah, we tried. So we did it every single year. I used to panic. With podcasting, you sort of you meet people and sort of people do interact with you, so you feel bad about not bringing one out, and the stresses of doing it and the stresses of keeping down a job and a family and stuff. And we went to every 2 weeks. Then we had a period where we were missing them. but we've now got back on track. Yeah, we are again back to fairly regular, and joining people like yourself and having people like yourself on our podcast. So.
Yeah, fantastic. And of course, one of my movie duelists, Jamie, has been on a couple of times. I think, hasn't? Is it 2 times he's been on?
I believe so. Yeah, we've been on a few podcasts and we've had quite a few people on. And Jamie came on and discussed one of his favourite films, The Thing, and yeah, he's been on with his lovely daughter as well. So yeah, we a future podcast in the making. So that was a good fun episode, yeah.
Yeah, I listened to both of them. I mean, I listened to them. They were sort of researched when Jamie sort of got in contact with me about coming on the podcast, and they were both excellent episodes. And I mean, you know, it's just a great amount of fun. Moviedrone, I think, you know, it's interactive as well. I mean, you've got your
Don't say the quiz. Don't say the quiz.
quiz.
Do not say what's that film. That's the worst part. You know, being put under pressure to do the quiz every week. Yeah, it's as you will find out, I think, shortly. But yeah, we like to have a bit of fun. You know, we're quite self-critical, and obviously we do take the mickey out of each other. It's a bit of a personal podcast. We do have a little bit of a chat at the start, which some people do like and some people don't. But you know, that's us in all of our dirty laundry and stuff. So yeah.
Well, do you want to just sort of tell people where they can find and get in contact with you at Moviedrone? I always like to ask people to sort of put this out at the start because sometimes people don't listen to the end. So if you want to let them know how they can get in touch with you or where they can find you, that'd be fantastic.
Well, I love people to get in contact with us because I do not do the social media, and that is Mark's job. So, so if you can bombard him with messages, and we do a section where we answer listeners' questions. So if you want to send a question, we're on X, formerly Twitter, at movie_drone, and we are on Hotmail at moviedronepodcast@hotmail.com.
Fantastic. So what's your sort of history with film? Do you have sort of a go-to genre? What sort of films do you like?
So I was horror. Really, I was brought up with. So being of a certain age, we sort of managed to get hold of pirate videotapes and stuff. So I was introduced to things like Texas Chainsaw Massacre when I was 12. So horror's been my genre. However, I'm having a bit of a struggle at the moment with horror. Yeah. My horror is dead. Hashtag horror is dead is going at the moment because I'm not finding much that I am enjoying, not many new ideas or anything. So it always was horror, but no, I like all sorts. My one sort of, I don't really get on with the classics, unfortunately. Right. I'm not a classics man. I struggle with the acting, you know, like that overacting type of thing. And yeah, it's there's a certain period up to probably from 70s onwards. I'll watch anything. So
cool. Okay. So here on a QuickDraw episode of Movie Duel, we look at some of the movie duels of past, and so we'll be giving Steve some of the subjects that we've discussed in the past, just talking through the choices that we made. And perhaps some of the choices that Steve would have made if he didn't agree with either of ours. So, Steve, are you ready?
I am indeed.
Okay, so we'll start at the very beginning, as I have with everybody so far. Right back to episode 1, in which myself and co-founder Liam discussed our choices for the most underrated sequel ever made. With my choice of Predator 2 from 1990 and Liam's choice of Gremlins 2, also from 1990. But what say you, Steve?
So I have probably something that's a little bit left field. I've gone for this one because it has a lower IMDb score than my favourite film of all time. And it is The Naked Gun 2.5. The Smell of
choice.
Fear.
Good choice.
My favourite film of all time is The Naked Gun.
Yeah,
I know it's weird in amongst all of the films that are out there, but I was brought up on Police Squad, and I there's just something about The Naked Gun, And the Naked Gun 2.5 gets a bit of a rough steer because people say there's too many jokes in there. No. But when you've got the comedy genius, and I don't mean that he just sort of goes out and says loads of jokes and he's that funny, but the comedic timing of Leslie Nielsen is just something that I can never get enough of. So as many jokes as you can throw at me, I'll take. Him and the Zuckers, it's just a match made in heaven. I love Robert Goulet. I think he's a great villain.
Yeah.
And it's ahead of its time with the plot. The powerful energy corporation.
Yeah.
Intent on putting a stop to Albert Mannerheim's plan for eco-fuel. It's ahead of its time, and Leslie Nielsen's just amazing.
I agree. Leslie Nielsen is all the way back to Police Squad. I mean, I would probably say that I prefer 2.5 to the original.
Yeah, I mean, I can easily see why you could. The original for me is just more like Police Squad. So my affinity with Police Squad was it was something that I was allowed to sit up and watch. With my mum, and I don't think she got it, but I was in hysterics. And I suppose I've got that sort of nostalgia. We talk a lot about us nostalgia on Moviedrone, but it's lower IMDb score because people just say that there's too many jokes. But the way that Leslie Nielsen delivers them, Frank Drebin's just an amazing character.
Absolutely,
it's just outstanding. I think.
Agreed. But yeah, I think it's interesting what you say about nostalgia. I think that's probably why I would say I prefer it, because I think it is. It was the one that was sort of. It did, it sort of came onto Sky, so we recorded it at the time, and they didn't really, they weren't in the habit like they are now on Sky and those sorts of channels of showing the originals and and showing them all sort of in sequence and stuff like that. So that was the only one we sort of recorded at the time, and probably watched that a lot more than the original. But the original, it recycled a lot from Police Squad as well. So if you'd watched Police Squad, you'd maybe not quite as interesting as the second one.
Did you ever watch things like Top Secret and stuff?
Top Secret,
one of the first sort of spoofs.
Is that the one with Val Kilmer?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd not seen that till quite late on, but I used to watch stuff with my dad and my grandmother. I used to watch Police Squad with my dad, and there was another one actually with my grandma, which was they made it in the film with Steve Carell, Get Smart,
right? Yeah,
and stuff like that. I think that was a Mel Brooks production as well. But I just love the parody stuff and Hot Shots and Airplane and all those sorts of things.
The talk of Liam Neeson redoing Frank Drebin, it just scares me. I'm not even sure. We say on Moviedrone, we'll watch it if it comes out, but it's going to be, if they redo The Naked Gun with Liam Neeson, I don't think I can do it. I can do it. Liam Neeson, no way.
No, good God, no. Okay, so, but what about our choices? Predator 2, Gremlins 2. What would you have picked out of those two?
As the best one, see, I am more of a Predator fan, I think. If you ask Mark, it would be Gremlins. He loves Gremlins, he's into all of that. He still holds all the those sorts of films quite high up, whereas for me it would be Predator 2. I watch all the Predator films. I think I watched Predators the other day. And
that's not too bad.
No, they're all right, but Predator 2 I think would be my favourite out of those two, definitely.
I mean, there's one of the main. I mean, I love it anyway, but I mean, the main reason I picked it as being underrated was it's the lowest rated Predator sequel of all of them.
Right. Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh no way!
Unbelievable.
Mark would definitely be a Gremlins person, but he doesn't know an awful lot. So.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to episode 3, which was again with Liam. We talked about the most overrated Best Picture winner, with Liam's choice of Titanic from 1997, and my choice of Braveheart from 1995. Would you agree with either of those?
I mean, I've got one that I dislike more, which I will get into, but I don't know. Those two, I don't know. I mean, Braveheart, obviously, it's taking away the historical part of it, and obviously the way that they Hollywoodize it. I don't mind a good fight sequence. I can easily watch it. Titanic, there's a bit of it that I would watch. I like the bit where the boat sinks. That's sort of the bit. If you showed me just that bit, I'll be interested. So I think they've all got parts that I'm interested in watching. But you know, if you spliced a bit of Braveheart with a bit of Titanic, then that would be a lot better for me.
I'd pay to see that film, definitely. Yeah.
You would. My overrated Best Picture winner is one of the most recent ones. It's Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I really did build that one up as something that I really wanted to watch. And I don't know, I just thought it was all over the place. I think that in the headspace that I watched it, I just wasn't prepared for everything that was going on. And the multiverse at the moment, for me, I think it felt like a good idea, but so many films are using it, and I'm struggling now with, you know, the liberties that people are taking in this sort of idea. Jamie Lee Curtis was great in it. I'm really glad that she won her award for it. Short Round, it's probably the only film that I've ever watched that I didn't want to punch him in the face. So that's probably a good performance by him. And I like the hot dog finger things. But other than that, I just found the film incomprehensible.
Right.
And I'll build it up. I was really interested. I said to Mark, we've got to do this one. Everyone loves it. And for me, I don't think it should have won, if I'm honest.
Okay.
I mean, you're looking as though you enjoyed it.
I loved it.
Did you?
It was fantastic.
Really?
Absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
I think it just, I don't know, I think it just sort of, it sort of appealed to me. This is going to sound really twattish, but on quite an emotional level, I thought it really affected me. That whole sort of family dynamic and relationships and stuff. I get what you're saying though. I think it does. There are parts where it gets very a bit too sort of bombastic and like you can't sort of follow parts of it. You know, there's a part sort of probably 2/3 of the way through that it sort of lost me, and I was sort of looking at my watch, which is always a bad sign for me. But I just loved it. I just really loved it, and I thought,
have you heard the part of our podcast where we take the mickey out of me because I don't have an emotional bone in my body? That's probably the whole part of the family bit and all that would have gone straight over my head. So
right.
and I didn't realise that it sort of had that in. And that's where it just got a bit manic for me. I think the main storyline I didn't attach to. So it meant that everything else was just a bit too crazy. Jamie Lee Curtis, though, was fantastic. But I'm struggling with all the Doctor Strange and the Spider-Man multiverse stuff, and it's just getting a bit much, to be honest.
Well, they've done it. They've just done it to death now, aren't they? They need to be sort of done with it. Well, I think the whole sort of Marvel thing, sort of.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's dead.
Just, It's. I remember somebody commenting saying it's now like a computer game where you've finished it and you're just sort of doing the extra little missions because you want to sort of complete it, and stuff like that, which is absolutely true. But okay, right. So moving on to episode 4, which was Liam's choice of subject, in which we discussed our choices for childhood trauma or kids' films that scared us. So my choice of Return to Oz from 1985, and Liam's choice of The Watcher in the Woods from 1980. Have you seen either of those?
I don't think I have. No. What was the first one? 1995.
85.
85. I don't think I have. It's probably. I mean, I don't know how old you guys are, if you saw them when they first came out. But I mean, maybe my childhood's a little bit fuzzy around the edges, so there's a possibility that I have. But it doesn't matter to me. I've got one that outstands, and those ones could not have traumatized me as much as my choice. So so I think it's irrelevant as to whether I have watched them or not, to be honest. My choice is Watership Down from 1978.
Wow, what a choice.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, you know, our parents used to sit us in front of the TV to watch this, and like I don't remember whether it was a punishment or not, or whether they actually thought that it's something that we should be watching at that age. Recently, it's reclassified to a PG from a U, so it was a U rating. So any child could sit and watch it. You know, I don't know. It's General Woundwort, I think is how you say it. He was just terrifying. You know, you've got Violet killed by a hawk. The farmer was snaring rabbits. You've got Hazel dying at the end. You've got that haunting music. I don't know. I don't know they remade it. I never watched the remake.
Well, Art Garfunkel's enough to scare the life out of anyone anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you've obviously seen the 78 version, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost that sort of weird sort of creepy sort of. I think it was a British film, wasn't it? But it's almost feels sort of a British sort of animation, a bit like, you ever seen the sort of 70s animated Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
And that sort of style is very sort of very creepy anyway, I think. But yeah, I'd absolutely agree with you on that. It's terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre when I was 12, and that worried me less than this did. So yeah, it's got to be Watership Down, and it'll always be Watership Down. I haven't watched it for quite a few years. I mean, I'm not quite sure whether I am sort of over stating its horrendousness, but I don't think so. I think for a child, it was a bit much, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so moving on to episode 9, which was my second episode with Vanessa. We talked about our choices for best public transport action movie. We talked about Executive Decision from 1996, which was my choice, and Speed from 1994, which was Vanessa's.
They're both good films. Speed itself has aged quite a lot, hasn't it? It does look its age, but there's so many. This was one of the most difficult ones as it goes, because you know, I almost chose the Midnight Meat Train. I don't know if you've seen that with Vinnie Jones, you know, just to be out there a bit. But yeah, there's so many. I mean, you can put anything on public transport and make it fun, can't you? So,
of course,
this is where my love of 70s films comes in. So, although I do like those two choices, my choice is 1974's The Taking of Pelham 123.
Ah, all right, okay, yeah. It's not one I've seen. I've heard a lot about it.
All right, okay. Because they remade it as well with John Travolta, I think.
Yes,
it was a lot more fairly violent, that one, which I didn't mind. But this has got Walter Matthau in it and Robert Shaw flexing their muscles. All of these people that look 60 and they're supposed to be like 35-year-old people. But as I said before, films from the 40s, 50s, 60s, I'm not a great fan of, but the 70s, they do come into their own.
Yeah.
Assault on Precinct 13 was one of my other favourite ones from this era, and Roller Coaster. But, you know, it's proper storytelling, isn't it? It's proper storytelling. Fairly simple, but yeah, I mean, if you've not seen it, I would recommend it.
Yeah, I do need to check it. I always get that mixed up with Assault on Precinct 13, because who directed Taking of Pelham 123?
Oh, do you know what?
Assault on Precinct 13's Carpenter, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I would have to check.
Okay.
But no, it's just the John Travolta one's not too bad, you know, but it's just sort of a bit too, you know, in the 70s you didn't get as much swearing and stuff, and it was just sort of proper script writing. The remake's got sort of a lot more cursing and stuff. So Yeah, I just find those sort of films from that era, proper films.
Yeah. I do, yeah. Sort of 70s action are always great films, like Dirty Harry's and all those sorts of style. They have this sort of grimy feel to them, don't they? That sort of just really sort of hammers it home, like French Connection and those kind of films.
They are amazing films. I don't know if you've seen Roller Coaster. There's not a lot to that,
No.
But that's one of my favourites. A bit of terrorism on a roller coaster, you know.
All right,
I've to put you off going to Disneyland, but if the kids aren't bad enough, but yeah. So I mean, there was a few trains come up. I was thinking of Unstoppable, quite like that one.
Yeah, that one's good.
But yeah, we went for that.
Nobody said Under Siege 2 yet. Anyway.
No, or Speed 2 or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, the Speed film's good. You know, you can sit and watch it. Just on in the background, but there's a lot from that sort. I find that the films from the 70s don't seem to age as bad as the ones from the 80s. In my mind,
I know what you're saying.
Because I think because I wasn't, you know, I don't remember as much from the 70s. It all feels a bit fresher. Whereas the 80s, you look at it and you saw it when it first came out, and yeah, you notice all the bits that are creaking around the edges. Like Sandra Bullock. No, she actually looks quite good. She's good. Right.
So speaking of things that have perhaps aged badly, so episode 10, myself and Nicole talked failed nostalgia or films that we used to love but have seen recently and changed our minds on. So Nicole picked Face Off from 1997 and I picked Batman Forever from 1995.
The Face Off, I absolutely love. I'm not sure that so Nick Cage, I'm a big fan of. A big fan of Nick Cage. I love it when he goes full Cage, and I think is it Castor Troy? Was that the villain in that? I mean, what a villain Castor Troy was. I could never ever not enjoy watching Face Off. Ludicrous. Surprised it's not had a remake.
Yeah, I was never a big fan of it, to be fair, in the first place. I mean, this was Nicole's choice anyway, but I just found it just left me feeling a bit sick at the end.
The idea I just thought was
the kid.
But the idea I just thought was fantastic, you know. I suppose it's that fear, you know, you have that operation, and then the only people who know that it's happened, you know, and you got that. It's almost like getting locked in. One of my things about film is when you get locked in an asylum, you know, and no one knows you're there or whatever. You know, you if you think about that too deeply, it will drive you mad. And that's what I get from Face Off. Batman Forever, I mean, I'm a DC fan. I prefer DC over Marvel. Not quite sure that I could ever not like a Batman film, if I'm honest. My choice is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yes.
I can't stand watching it now or any of them, unfortunately. The new one I just thought was an absolute train crash. Mark loved it.
I got about 10 minutes into it, I think, and just didn't bother anymore.
Right, yeah, we did it, I think we did it for a main review, so we had no choice. But my wife loves them, you know. She'll put them on in the background and she'll just watch them all the time. The side characters, Genghis Khan and Joan of Arc, are so annoying to me now. Like, I just can't watch it or have it on in the background. I can't even listen to it. And you know, I suppose it was a fairly fun film when they came out. But and I'm not a hater of sort of stoner comedy. You know, I'll still watch Dude, Where's My Car? You know, I find that funnier than any of the Bill and Ted films. And yeah, I think it was just the way they tried to bring it back, and how one of them was so into it and one of them was just not wanting to be there, and the dynamics were all wrong. Hopefully they'll never bring another one out.
You see, I never really had too much of an affinity with the first one. But I love the second one, Bogus Journey.
Do you?
I love it.
Well, that's the one with Death, yeah.
With Death,
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think it's not really down to the Bill and Ted characters. I think it is mainly down to the Grim Reaper, who I don't know. I think it's just again, it's probably a bit of nostalgia, but I just think it's just a lot of fun, that one, and it was one of my early sort of introductions to hell in cinema as well. And I always thought that was a really creepy representation of hell as well, where you just sort of slowly getting dragged towards the devil, and they sort of throwing up the sign of the devil and all that sort of thing. I just thought it was great.
I mean, he returned in the new one, didn't he?
Oh, who, the Grim Reaper?
Yeah, he was in the last
did
one,
he?
wasn't he? I think so. I'm sure he was.
I say I only got the. I was
I'm
only 10
sure he
minutes
was, and
into
I'm
it.
sure it was terrible. I've sort of tried to blank it, but I'm pretty sure he came back in the last one. Awful film.
They left it way too long anyway, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's like, anyway. Okay. Right. Okay. So what we'll do at this point, Steve, is just take a short break, and we'll be back in a moment. Okay, so welcome to the intermission. This is part of the episode in which I ask my guest a random question, a question that they've not prepared for, and get their honest first answer. So, Steve, are you ready?
I think so.
Okay, so we established off mic before we started recording that you're a bit of a pro wrestling fan.
I've watched it. Yeah, I've seen it quite a lot. I'm not sure. Me and Mark have always talked about going. I want to hold up one of those signs that says the person behind me can't see. That's what I want to do. But the problem is you could probably only afford tickets at the back anyway. So we haven't bothered.
Yeah, I've been a couple of times, but only to the not the televised ones.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I used to watch it. It was we used to get someone's friend of mine's granddad used to record it for us, and we used to run up to his house and get the VHS tapes and bring it back. Like Hulk Hogan WrestleMania with Andre the Giant and stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, I'll love it on in the background if I'm just sitting doing something.
Excellent. Well, so here's your question then. What is the best performance by a pro wrestler in film?
Oh dear. What is the best performance by a pro wrestler in film? I mean, it's a difficult one. I mean, I would, because of the nostalgia on it, I know we say it a lot, I would have to say Andre the Giant in The Princess Bride.
Yes.
Because of the stories, probably, about him on set, and if you actually read into it, about the cases of wine that he drank before he went on and done his lines. I for some reason I actually had in the back of my mind another one. It was the one that Stone Cold Steve Austin was in, where he was like a convict that was dropped.
Oh, The Condemned.
Oh, that's
The Condemned with Vinnie Jones.
Yeah,
Oh,
that dropped into my mind first, and I thought, but please don't say that. Please don't say it. But it would have to be Andre the Giant, I think. I don't know if you've seen the documentary on Andre the Giant.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
amazing,
what a documentary! It's what an insight to his life. Quite a sad life in a way, but yeah. And if you look at the behind the scenes stuff of him in The Princess Bride,
with the minute long. There was a minute-long fart.
Yeah.
Before they did a take, wasn't there?
That was his thing, though, wasn't it? He used to love doing it. That was his thing. He used to do it on airplanes and in restaurants and everything.
Oh God, can you imagine? Can you imagine what that must smell like?
No.
After all that wine as well.
I mean, he's. I don't know if you've seen about where he drank something like 112 beers in one sitting. I mean, just crazy. And so yeah, I think I'd have to say that. I mean, the others. I don't know if you could probably drop any others that I might have forgotten. The ones with Hulk Hogan, that were terrible. I mean, you've got all these WWE studio films, haven't you, now that are coming out with all of them.
They're awful. They're really awful.
Yeah. I can't think of one that I would probably watch, but...
I mean, I'd go quite modern. I think, as much as I don't like him as a persona, John Cena in the latest Suicide Squad, I thought was just perfect. As Peacemaker. Was it Peacemaker?
It was Peacemaker, yeah, because he had the series, didn't he? I think which I didn't watch.
Yeah, I've not seen that. No, but I thought he was good. I mean, Roddy Piper in They Live. I mean, there's moments in that.
That's a good one. Yeah, although
there's moments in that it's a bit,
I mean, there is a scene in it where they do actually have a wrestling match, isn't there? Like one of the choreographed scenes is literally him going through his repertoire of moves. Yeah, that looks quite dated now. They Live. That used to be one of my favourites, but I watched it again recently, and it's showing its age for sure.
Yeah, I remember watching it quite recently, and it's just sort of, there's a lot of really cool lines in it that are delivered by Roddy Piper, like I came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass and all that bubblegum. And when you actually watch it in the context of the film, it makes no sense whatsoever. It just But it is really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So that's your intermission question, Steve. Thank you very much, and we'll head back to the main discussion. Okay, so then we moved to episode 13, which was with Vanessa, and we talked about worst horror remake. Obviously, you said you're a bit of a horror fan.
Mm-hmm.
Vanessa went with The Wicker Man 2006, and I went with Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007.
So,
fan of either of them?
Yeah, well, I'll watch them. So The Wicker Man, you can't really follow the original Wicker Man, but the actual idea of what it's leading up to and the sheer terror, that idea, you can't, it doesn't matter whether it's the old one or the new one. I think the actual final scene that it leads up to is just terrifying. So I'd give it a little bit of a pass. Friday the 13th, Halloween, we'll watch them all. We'll watch whatever I've seen. I've got to say, I'll watch any of the Halloween and Friday the 13th remakes. I love the characters. I'm more of a Friday the 13th fan.
It's just the most consistent in it. They're not brilliant, but they're not complete absolute shite.
No.
They're just sort of nice comfort films, I think.
Jason Voorhees, I think, is the best character for me. You get different people who rate him differently. So Ben from Filmbusters is a Michael Myers fan. I'm Jason Voorhees. I know Mark is actually prefers Freddy Krueger. But no, I would watch those. There's one that I think I've watched once and I won't watch again, and it is the 2000, and I forget what thing it is, but it's the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
Yeah, it was a close contender for me, that one.
Yeah. I actually think that Jackie L. Haley could have been a fantastic Freddy, or he actually wasn't the worst thing in it. It was what they did with the storyline and the character, where they focused on what the original implied. Which was obviously the issues with the children and stuff like that, where they focus so much on that for this film, it completely took away the fun. And all of those films are fun for me. The Freddy films, the Halloween, the Jason Voorhees, Friday the 13th, they're all fun. I'm looking for inventive kills. I'm looking for stupid people to do stupid things that gets them into stupid situations. I'm not looking for a Freddy film to be really vicious. No. And certainly not towards that character, No. Even though he's horrible, you sort of love him in a way. And what they did to the character just, it just pissed me off, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's such a shame because I think some of the concepts that they sort of came up with, obviously, the original's made in 1984, I think, and however many years between that and the remake, there's been so much research and scientific stuff about dreams and sleep and all that sort of thing, and they touch on some really good concepts about the micro naps and things like that in the remake. But then it's just all sort of spoilt by, like you say, this really bad portrayal of. Well, I don't think it's necessarily a bad portrayal, but it's like you say, that subtext is gone and it's just there and in your face, and the makeup or the CGI just looks terrible. I think I said on another podcast he looks like a bit of ham out of a Daily Lunchable.
Yeah,
he's just sort of really flat, and I know he's meant to look quite realistic, but. It's just awful.
I think him as an actor could have done it. I think he really could have done it. And it's a difficult one to follow. Really, really difficult to follow Robert Englund in there. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But I think I think he had the look, and I think he certainly could have done it. But it's just spiteful. I think that they've totally missed the point that even though Freddy is a killer, people love him. And people cheer him on. He's just a loved character, much the same as Jason Voorhees and that. We don't look at them and want them to get killed. We look at them and want them to go on a spree because it's just fun, I mean, obviously not. We wouldn't want it to happen in real life, but this is we just enjoy that. It's just fun, and it's just so spiteful.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Okay, so they're moving up to episode 15. Worst prequel ever made. A controversial choice in this one. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, chosen by Tarquin from 1983. And Exorcist: The Beginning from 2004.
I mean, I certainly probably agree with The Exorcist. I do love the Indiana Jones films, apart from the last two. The last one, I actually thought that they probably would have learnt their lesson after the skull? What was it? The crystal skull
Kingdom
one.
of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, I thought they might have learnt their lesson after that and realised that it wasn't what we wanted. And then we got the last one, whatever that was, Dial of Destiny or whatever.
Dial of Destiny, yeah.
I mean,
I enjoyed Dial of Destiny.
Did you? Okay.
Well, they whiffed it in the last act of that. They
Yeah.
just totally that ruined it really.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
I think there was bits in it. Some of the set pieces weren't too bad. But the first ones, apart from Short Round, as I said, he's. I think we had a question once about characters we'd like to punch in the face, and even though he was a child, I chose him. I don't care about that. He certainly does wind me up, but those films, I can't agree with those, unfortunately. That one,
Okay.
Exorcist, yeah, probably. I mean, there's only one. I watched the new one recently. I don't really know what the point was, but
No.
Was it David Gordon Green? Was it?
Yeah, somebody needs to stop him.
Yeah,
Somebody needs to have a word, take him out the back. And just...
They certainly do. But my worst prequel I've got is Alien Covenant from 2017.
All right, interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
So when Prometheus came out, on a first watch I didn't like it, and then I realised that there's more to it, so I watched it a lot more, and I actually think it is a fairly decent film. You could almost say you could almost take it out of the Alien universe and still watch it and that's where I think I missed the point the first time I watched it. But Alien Covenant, I went with a group of friends and we watched it, and we left the cinema and we went home and not one person spoke about it leaving the cinema. And for me,
Wow.
that's a total misstep. A group of lads, Alien fans, just coming out and just being basically numb to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I there was some bits that were okay. I thought Michael Fassbender was, he was okay, but
Yeah.
I just couldn't get on with it.
No, it just seemed like... I think the thing with Prometheus is I think what it suffered from was not being... In some people's minds, it wasn't alien enough.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think it could have probably benefited from being even less alien, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does, yeah.
And I think I'm like you. I think I watched it and wasn't overly impressed to begin with, and then I've watched it a few times since, and I think it is a decent. I think it's probably had one too many ideas in it as well. Yeah. That was probably sort of made it suffer. But yeah, Alien Covenant was just after that. You've got no, other than the Michael Fassbender character, you've got no connection to that first one. Obviously, Numa Rapace didn't want to come back, I guess. I don't know. So you didn't have that connection there, and it's like it just reduces the creation of this sort of epic movie monster to just somebody's ego project as well. And
it's crazy, when you look at all of these things that are linked and remakes and stuff, I don't get how someone can look at what they've produced and be happy with that when you're following Aliens. You've got Alien to obviously to start with. You've got to make it at least as good and as enthralling. You got some of the tropes. You got the face huggers and the chest bursters and stuff, but we've seen all that. Give us something different, but give us something that you feel is better. And I don't think any of these, like we say, the David Gordon Green stuff and this Ridley Scott abomination. I can't believe that we didn't even have anything to say about it. No one even complained that it was that bad.
Yeah.
We just did not speak about it, and I haven't spoken about it until now. It's almost been erased. And how can you do that? I don't know.
Fantastic. Well, okay. I don't think I've ever walked out of a cinema and not said, unless I've been on my own and not said anything. I don't generally walk out the cinema when I've been on my own, just chatting away to myself about it. Some people might, but I'm not that far down the road yet. Okay, so moving on to episode 17. Vanessa joined me for this one. We talked about best film based on a toy line. We talked about my choice of Masters of the Universe and Vanessa's choice of Clue. You seen them?
I have, yeah. I couldn't actually not choose one of those, if that makes sense. So Masters of the Universe, I'd loved. I used to love the old cartoon series. I think they've done a new one, did they, or something? I don't really know. But the thing is with Masters of the Universe, I was talking to someone who plays Call of Duty. They're playing the zombies on the new one. And they've actually purchased a skin for their character, and they purchased Skeletor. So the fact that Skeletor is still being made, from Master of the Universe, it just lives in all of our sort of nostalgia. So I would agree with that. I had to choose Clue because I'm not a great fan of children's films, which have got a lot of toys in. So I had to go with one that you'd already chosen. I just couldn't. Cluedo for me was the board game. I used to play that, and what was it? Escape from Colditz, I think. I don't know if you remember that.
Heard of that.
That was heavy. That one. That was heavy. But yeah, Clue. Sometimes I find it a little bit irritating, but Tim Curry and Christopher Lloyd in there, and the actual setting, the house is exactly how you would imagine the house to be if you were playing the board game. It was just such a great setting. I know that Ryan L. Terry, who we've had on our podcast, loves Clue. And, I think it is a bit flamboyant, which is not really me. but you do get like that when you play games like this, don't you? There's that competitive edge and stuff, and you already I love a whodunit. And there isn't many good ones nowadays. The new Agatha Christie ones are not good. I was hoping that they would be really good. But no, so I couldn't choose anything else. I'm not a great toy person, you know. Okay. So, but yeah, so it had to be that one.
Fair enough. But yeah, I think I slightly sort of conceded it on the episode. I think Clue is, it's very sort of simple humour, but it's just fun. It's just so much fun. Yeah, you know, it's just.
I think I think Knives Out reminded me a little bit of that. You know, like the setting and stuff like that. When that. See,
I haven't seen any of them. I haven't seen any of the new sort of the Richard Kenneth Branagh, you know, Agatha Christie films or any of the Knives Out. I think there's another. There's another one, isn't there, with
Glass Onion, I think. Yeah, that was the new one.
No, there's another one with is it Sam Rockwell?
Right.
There seems to be loads of them at the minute, don't there?
That's the because I actually saw the screen, the play of that. That is a version of, can't think what play it is. My wife took me. I switched off after an hour or so. I can't think what play it is, but yeah, that's the a film around them doing the play or something. But I haven't properly seen that. But
I think I had my fill again, growing up with my grandmother, she used to watch Columbo and Murder, She Wrote and all Diagnosis Murder and everything. Father Brown or whatever his name was. Yeah. And Quincy.
And they're better. They're better than a lot of these films. They certainly are. Yeah.
Okay, so then moving up to episode 18, which was entitled Humble Pie, or films that we avoided but ended up loving. So there's basically a film that we avoided for whatever reason, and then finally sort of watched and thought, actually, that's a pretty good film. So we talked about my choice of The Warriors from 1979 and Nicole's choice of Chud from 1984.
So The Warriors is in my top 10 films of all time. I love The Warriors. I used to watch The Wanderers and The Warriors. So The Wanderers was more like 60s, and then The Warriors was my sort of 70s film. Absolutely love The Warriors. I think it's a fantastic film. What was the other one? I haven't seen the other one, I don't think.
Chud.
Right.
Chud.
No. Oh, Chud.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Chud.
Okay. Chud.
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 UD.
Yeah,
yes.
I have seen that. Yeah, many a year in my horrors. I can't say that I'll probably, if I watch that again, I would enjoy it. But we do a section called Homework where we give each other films. So Mark is always trying to get me to tug on my emotional strings that I don't have. And he's fallen flat on his face many, many times. He's given me some good films. Whiplash, Almost Famous, Fast Times at Ridgemount High, I hadn't seen and he'd given me. So he has had some that are positive. But there is one that stands out, and it's probably one of the only films that, I'm never going to drop tear on a film, but it's one of those that sort of, I did click with the character, and it's 2004's The Terminal.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
I would have avoided that like the plague.
Yeah.
Just the synopsis of it would have turned me off. But what a fantastic film. I absolutely loved it. I thought Tom Hanks as the character, knowing full well that it was based on a true story. And, sometimes you just need a little bit of niceness in your life. And just watching the character just, be nice to everybody and brighten everyone's day actually made me smile, which is not something that many of Mark's films do. So yeah, it had to be that one.
Yeah, I think it has a really sweet sentiment to it, doesn't it? That film. I've not watched it for a long time. I can't say that I loved it when I watched it, but it did. You sometimes, I like you, I'm a big horror fan, and I do quite enjoy quite nihilistic films, and films that have unhappy endings and shocking endings, and but then sometimes you just need that little bit of bit of joy, a bit of hope.
I mean, I don't like
Maybe.
to admit that I do, so I never do. And he has fallen flat on his face. He's given me a lot of films that he's trying to sort of bring out my emotional side. And he fails miserably. He still tries, but but yeah, it's just I could not. I actually take pleasure sometimes in sort of completely destroying the ones he gives me. There's no way that I could. I scored it really highly.
Cool. Well, I mean, do you ever find that you sort of some of those maybe films that do have a bit more of an unhappy ending that you think they would have been better with a happier ending?
I mean, I don't really try and watch films with a happy ending. It's just really weird. I do, as you say, have this sort of like weird affiliation with. I know it sounds horrible, but watching other people's misfortune gives me pleasure, and I don't mean that really nastily in real life. I don't like to see people get hurt in that in real life, but. As long as the character's written really well and you have that natural want for them to not succeed and that, I enjoy watching that more than I do the fluffy sort of stuff, And Mark cries quite a lot on films. I've given him films where he's cried and stuff. It's never something that I'm going to do. But there are those little films like this. And it's just sometimes you do need a bit of happiness in your life, which I didn't realise. And he did give it to me, and I begrudged it. I hated telling him. I really did. But yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so jumping forward to episode 21, in which myself and Vanessa talked about our choices for best movie about addiction, with... talking of nihilistic films, Requiem for a Dream from 2000 and Trainspotting, which was my choice, from 1996.
Yeah, both really good films. Trainspotting is the better of the two for me. I watched Trainspotting 2 the other day as well.
I still haven't watched it. I tried to. I was hoping to watch it before I did podcast, but it was like they just completely ran out of time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's nowhere near the original, but it's not a bad film. But the best bit about it is the subtle use of Born Slippy, just into like the little snippets of the intro and stuff that they use throughout the film. Never really play the full tune, but they have little snippets that are just in there, which is pretty good. Yeah, fantastic films. There's loads of them. I almost chose The Basketball Diaries. Leonardo DiCaprio on there. But there is one that when this came out, it went into my top 5 films, and it's quite a recent one, 2019. We went through a period in 2019 where Joker came out, and there was just lots of films, lots of really good films. I think I ended up buying a lot of them, which is Parasite we watched as well. And those sorts of things all came out at the same time, but one surpassed all of them, went into my top 5 films of all time. It's Uncut Gems.
Oh, right, yes. I've still not seen that.
Have you not?
No.
Wow.
No.
Have you not?
I think that could fall under this sort of humble pie thing, because it's Adam Sandler, isn't it? Uncut Gems.
Yeah. So
and I think I've avoided it because it's Adam Sandler.
Oh no! Yeah, I mean, it's one of the most tense couple of hours that you're ever likely to have in watching a film. It's gambling addiction. It's not obviously drugs or alcohol, or whatever. It's gambling addiction that's addressed in this. I don't know, the 135 minutes of just pure tension. The music at the start, the score is so expertly produced that you are already uptight just in the first 5 minutes of following this character through the Diamond District. And I think he puts in his best performance. The end had me and Mark open-mouthed and speechless. Okay. It was that good.
Wow.
Yeah, we were just like, you are kidding. So I'm not gonna obviously say any more. But yeah, and even though it's that tense, you sort of think that you would not want to watch it again. But
Right.
I mean, I can watch it anytime, and I'm quite happy to be tense. Even if I start tense, it's a fantastic film. I think you would love it.
I definitely want to check it out because I've heard so much about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll give it a watch and report back. I'll see if I can watch it before next week.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, it'd be good to have a chat about it. A little chat about it. It's you do think Adam Sandler. I don't mind him in his comedic things. I watched another film. Was it Hustlers or Hustler? I'm sure that's what it was called, the basketball one, where everyone said that was his best performance, but I don't think that it matches Uncut Gems at all.
Okay, cool. I shall check it out. Well, that brings us to the end of our list then, Steve. Listen, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
So do you just want to give us one more reminder of where we can find you and Mark?
I can probably do it right this time. It's X, formerly Twitter, @movie_drone, and our email is moviedronepodcast@hotmail.com. We accept all sorts of listener questions. If you want to come on, drop us a line, and have a listen to us, play Mark's crappy quiz, and see how many you get.
Yeah, check out the show notes for this episode. I'll drop some links in there for how to contact Moviedrone and where to find them, and go and give them a listen. It's a fantastic podcast, a whole heap of fun, and you and Mark are just amazingly funny.
It's because we hate each other, really. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But no, thank you very much for your kind words, and we'll have to have you on soon, Peter.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so it just leaves me to say goodbye, and for Steve to say,
I'm Steve from Moviedrone. Don't call me Shirley.